everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody and glad you guys are back for another video. Week 17 is upon us and we have quite a few games to talk about on Saturday, so I won't hold anything up. Let's dive into it, starting with our early games. Alright, preview number 1, we're just going to dive right into it. We have a 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Where else but the Indoor Football League Network or the Victory Plus app or some other website, because, well, you can just get this for free now instead of paying $30. So, good job, guys. The 3-10 San Antonio Gunslingers taking on the 9-4 Jacksonville Sharks. This is a big game for Jacksonville. It's a game to play spoiler for San Antonio, and these are two former NAL teams meeting for the first time. We'll talk about that in a second, but for the first time in the Indoor Football League at least. Season leaders for both sides: Joaquin Colazo, 133 of 245, 1,534 yards, 27 touchdowns to 17 interceptions. Tyler Huff, 58 of 81, 515 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 pick. Keyshawn Harper, 77 carries, 242 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Tyler Huff, your leading rusher for Jacksonville, 89 carries, 529 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Receiving leaders for San Antonio: Naquan Murray, 53 catches, 752 yards, and 17 receiving touchdowns, and Jaden Stoshak for the Sharks, 37 catches, 488 yards, and 14 receiving touchdowns. Taking a look at our injury report for both teams, a couple of guys added, well, at least one guy added, Jack Daly for San Antonio. Nothing to report on the Jacksonville side of things, but San Antonio is just one of the few teams that has that ever-growing list of injuries piling up. Quite a few guys already on season injured reserve, quite a few guys on short-term injured reserve. Looking at our game odds over here, we are back to DraftKings as they got their odds out. We have an over-under of 81.5, and the Sharks are favored by almost 2 touchdowns, minus 13.5 at home, minus 625 for the heavy betting favorite for the Sharks, and plus 455 if you think San Antonio can pull the upset in Jacksonville. We are at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida, and our series head-to-head, well, 0-0. This is their first ever meeting. I know I said that earlier. This is their first ever meeting in the Indoor Football League. Both teams coming in last year. But from what I can gather, the series has been tied 2-2 when they both played in the National Arena League. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, our bet and prediction. We have plenty more previews to do. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face here, starting with the away side first. For the Gunslingers, Giovanni Sanders and Joaquin Colazo are your quarterbacks. Colazo most likely your starter, with Sanders being the backup. Keyshawn Harper your running back. Wide receivers include Glenn Gibbons Jr., Callie Rashad, Austin Upshaw, Naquan Murray, and Carl Reynolds. Offensive line: McQuail Harvey, Matthew Burrell, Quan Stallworth, Joel Galvin, and LaColby Tucker. On the defensive side of things, Austin Collier, Warren Thomas, and Jalen Williams. Linebackers include Hassan Black and Brian Horn. And in the secondary, Ravarius Rivers, Lakeith Murray, Christoph Page, Kyle Myers, Mike Miller, and Tycorian Brown. So a couple of new signees on the defensive side of the ball. Kicker, as always, or as most of the season, has been Tyler Huddle. Over to the Jacksonville side, Tyler Huff and Blaine Espinoza are your quarterbacks, with Huff being your starter. Running backs include Larry McCammon and DeMontre Tuggle. Wide receivers: Karan Ashley, Jaden Stoshak, Marcus Rogers, and Khalil McLean. On the offensive line, Bryson Broadway, Leon Brown, Dominic Jackson, and Kenny Furman. Defensively, Brandon Munoz, Kevon Bennett, and Giamonte Peck for the defensive line. Linebacker is Hayden Hatcher. And in the secondary, Jay Davis, Tyrese Ross, Richie Coffey, John Huggins, Malik Jones, and Lacaria Pleasant Johnson. Your kicker is Dylan Barnes. And for San Antonio, that is your 25-man roster. For Jacksonville, that is your 25-man roster. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and our prediction, and we'll move on. All right. Bet and prediction time for this game. Minus 13.5 for Jacksonville. This is an opportunity for Jacksonville to further embed themselves in the playoffs. I think they can clinch a playoff spot with a win here. If not, they get like 99.9% close to it. There might be some magic where a team loses, what have you, and they're able to get in. So, well, actually, I think regardless they get in, because whoever loses between Massachusetts and in Tulsa. So regardless, anyway, I think Jacksonville can clinch a playoff spot with a win today. I think they do it. They've been pretty good at home. The offenses look good at home. The defenses look good at home. San Antonio, they've played some close games, but if their offense doesn't get going, then it just kind of shuts down for them. And I think this is going to be one of those cases, at least in my opinion. I think this is an opportunity for Jacksonville and their defense to flex their muscle in this game, force a couple turnovers, and really just kind of get after it, all things considered. That's not to say San Antonio won't play well. They can play pretty well, but I just think Jacksonville knows what's on the line in this game. I think they're going to come out kind of guns a-blazing. They've had an off week. San Antonio hasn't. And kind of just, again, flex their muscle when it comes to that. That offense could be really good running the ball. Tyler Huff throwing the ball to Jaden Stoshak, running it. Demontre Tuggle looked really, really good. Yeah, I'm picking a minus 13.5 here, so I'm hoping it's going to be a big win. My prediction in this one, 49-33. I think Jacksonville just kind of overpowers them, and the defense steps up, forces some stops, forces some turnovers. If San Antonio wants to win this game, they have to play perfect. At least in my opinion. They have to play an A-plus game and hope that they can catch Jacksonville with some turnovers, get out to a hot start, and kind of put some pressure on them early. And, that hasn't stopped Jacksonville from mounting comebacks before. So I think San Antonio's a little bit up against the wall in this one. Their 3-10 record kind of proves that they falter at times. Their offense does struggle sometimes to score some points, and I think Jacksonville is able to take this one pretty convincingly. It wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville actually kind of wins by more than 2 touchdowns. I see that more than I do see any sort of upset, and that has nothing to necessarily do with the records, but more or less like the eye test of I have seen San Antonio struggle to mount comebacks. I have seen San Antonio struggle to really try and put up points. I think one of their wins was San Diego missing a drop kick in overtime. So again, you factor that into the equation. It took overtime for San Antonio to get one of their 3 wins. Jacksonville, on the other hand, they have won convincingly for quite a few of their games. They've won some close games. I really think what Jacksonville has defensively, they can take the ball away. We know Collazo's going to throw it a little bit. They're going to throw a little bit more than they're going to run. This is opportunity for that secondary, for Jay Davis, for Malik Jones, for all of these guys. Malik Jones leads in interceptions, or his tight end interceptions are pretty damn close to it. There's an opportunity here for Jacksonville to take advantage. So, like I said, 49-33. I think the Sharks take it. Minus 13.5 is your bet. Let's go take a look at our second of 6 previews. All right, preview number 2. Still with the earlier kickoffs, we have a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network, or wherever you want to stream it for free. 8-5 Green Bay taking on the 10-3 Quad City Steamwheelers. This is a matchup. Is this game of the week? I have trouble picking game of the week here. We've got a lot of playoff implication games when it comes to week 17, but in the East, this could be either this one or the next one that we talk about could be game of the week. So let's talk about it. We got our season leaders on the left side here. Max Miler, 167,283, 1,983 passing yards, 45 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. DeQuan Neal for Quad City, 109 of 190, 1,392 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Rushing leaders, the same 2 guys. Max Miler, 103 carries, 558 yards, and 21 touchdowns. And DeQuan Neal, 94 carries, 450 yards, and 13 rushing touchdowns. To the receivers, TJ Davis, 40 catches, 554 yards, and 16 touchdowns, and Jordan Vesey, 30 catches, 480 yards, and 13 receiving touchdowns. Looking over at the injury report, there is nothing really to report of for either side here. Again, like I mentioned last night for Bay Area, like I just mentioned for San Antonio, Green Bay, one of those teams that just has the ever-growing list of injuries, and it's kind of been that way all season for them. You can kind of see the dates that these guys were added. They've been injured for a while. Taking a look at our game odds, we have an over-under of 86.5, so expecting some points here. And Quad City favored by just 1 at home, and both teams minus 110 on the money line, so it's practically a pick'em when it comes to that, except you just have a little bit of a spread. We are in the Vibrant Arena at the Mark in Moline, Illinois. It's going to be a fun matchup between these two teams, and I'm actually looking forward to it as a Quad City fan. Our series head-to-head, 8-6 in favor of Green Bay, so another one of those where if Quad City gets the victory, they can inch ever so closely to tying up the series head-to-head, or Green Bay can just kind of create some more separation. The last meeting, Week 8 of 2025, Green Bay taking the victory 47-25 in what was not the best game for Quad City, but Green Bay looked really, really good. And yeah, this has a lot of implications when it comes to the playoffs. We'll talk about that here in a second. But first, let's go take a look at our 25-man roster. Then we'll look at our bet and prediction and talk about it. And then we'll move on. All right, let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face. Starting with the away side first, as we do. For Green Bay, TJ Davis and Max Myler, your quarterbacks. Myler's going to be your starter. Davis will slot in at the wide receiver position. He'll run the ball, we know. Running back, Jalen Cagle. And then the wide receivers, Andre Williams, Zane Lewis, Lowell Patron, and Jazarick Peterson. The offensive line, Devin Johnson, Jake Parks, Roderick Williams, Andrew Carter, and familiar face for Green Bay, Torrey Boyd. He was with them last year, and he's going to beef up that offensive line. Defensively, Rafiq Abdul-Wahid, Tremont Lofton, Alan Henry, and Sean Mustin. Linebacker, new signee Monty Montgomery, formerly of the Massachusetts Pirates. And in the secondary, Nigel Canada, Mamadou Mbai, Kevin Ransom, new signee Damari Roberson, Khalil Finley, Cale Jackson Jr., and Naeem Alexander, with Andrew Mevis being your kicker. Over to the Quad City side of things, I don't think there's any changes from a couple weeks ago. Daquan Neal, Seth Morgan are your quarterbacks, with Neal being the quarterback, or the starting quarterback, excuse me. Jared Ware Jr. being your running back. Wide receivers, Daquan Dudley, Tamarian Terry, Dion McShane, Kevon Rudd, and Jordan Vesey. Offensive line, Joel Crowell, Javion Caldwell, Ivory Scott, and Tyrone Chambers. On the defensive side of the ball, we move over. Kadir Shepard, David Cagle, Keyshawn Moore, and Chimedunga on the line. Linebackers, Bubba Arslanian and Brian Lee. And in the secondary, Trey Smith, CJ Parrish, Chris Chukwuemeka, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, Cameron Harrell, with your kicker being Kyle Kaplan. And that is your 25-man roster for your Green Bay Blizzard, your 25-man roster for your Quad City Steamwheelers. With that, let's go check out our bet and our prediction, dive a little bit deeper. We got some playoff implications to talk about. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. I'm going to go over 86.5. I know the defenses can kind of, play each other really, really well. Not play each other, but play each other's offenses really, really well. And we could be in for a little bit of a defensive session, especially with how well both teams kind of run the ball with your dual threat quarterbacks with Myler and Daquan Neal. But we both know that these teams can put up points. And what we're asking for both of these teams is to put up 43 points each. My brain thinks that Quad City can do that. My brain thinks Green Bay has done that plenty of times this season, scoring 70-plus points multiple times. So why not pick the over? Now, that's where it's going to get a little testy, is because, like I said, the defenses could just show up. Quad City has had a very, very, very good defense this season. Green Bay has shown flashes. I mean, their defense is nothing to sneeze at. It's not like the worst in the league, but again, they can hold their own. These teams are very, very good, and this is the reason why Green Bay needs this win. They need this win to stay on pace. They still have an opportunity to get the number 1 seed if everything kind of falls their way. They do need help. But a win here for Green Bay makes them 9-5. A loss for Quad City drops them to 10-4. And depending on how the Jacksonville game goes, Green Bay needs to keep pace with the Sharks. They need an opportunity to get a home playoff, game, or even have an opportunity at the 1 seed if things can break their way. For Quad City, it doesn't lock up the 1 seed, but it gets them ever so closer. If Quad City takes us a victory, gains them to 11-3 and drops Green Bay to 8-6. Quad City's already clinched a playoff spot, but on the other hand, moving them ever so close to that 1 seed, and I'm not sure if it secures them a home playoff game if they're in the top 2, regardless if they win this game, or not regardless, but if they win this game, then yeah, we got to work out all that math, and my brain is fried from doing all this. So those people that are smarter, way smarter than me when it comes to that stuff, go for it. But yeah, I've got an over 86.5 on this one. I think both teams can kind of show out here. I'm actually kind of expecting a little bit of a shootout, a nice little back and forth, or at least as, like I said, a Quad City fan, I'm hoping for a nice little back and forth, with my prediction being 48 to 45 in favor of Quad City. I can't go against them. I want them to get the 1 seed. I try not to throw my bias on there. I truly try not to, and try and be subjective as much as I can when I do these recaps and previews and stuff like that. But I know I throw it in there a little bit, so it does tend to get in the way, and it sucks. But I try and be as subjective as I can be. But I do want Quad City to win at the end of the day. So I want 48-45. I want it over 86.5 when it comes to this one. I don't really have a reason. I think Green Bay, and you see the spread there and everything like that. Green Bay is very, very capable of taking this. They can go on the road and win it, but Quad City has looked pretty good at home, all things considered, too. They are 5-1 at home. Green Bay 2-4 on the road. So that does hopefully play in favor of the Steam Wheelers a little bit. But again, if Green Bay takes this one, it's not because... Well, I take it back. If Green Bay wins this one, you could kind of blame it if there are mistakes, if there are penalties, turnovers, whatever, but Green Bay could just be the better team. And sometimes that's just how it plays out, and I'm not mad if Green Bay wins it. But Quad City, they do have their ability to force turnovers. They do have their ability. Like I said, that defense is very good. Keyshawn Moore is having a hell of a season. Kyle Kaplan and Andrew Mevis for Green Bay both can hit deuces. This could be just a very, very fun game between these two. So over 86.5, 48 to 45, Quad City getting the victory. We'll see how it goes. But let's go take a look at preview number 3. All right, preview number 3 as we keep chugging along with pretty much the Eastern Conference games in the earlier slates. We'll move to the Western Conference as we get later on, but we have a 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network or streaming platforms near you that are free. Massachusetts at 7-6 taking on Tulsa 7-6. This is pretty much a de facto play-in game, but not, because there's still 2 weeks left in the season, and just because whoever wins this game doesn't mean that they can't lose their final 2. We're getting in deep in the weeds when it comes to that one. But this one, whoever wins this one, puts them firmly in the driver's seat of that 4th and final playoff spot with 2 weeks left to play. Our season leaders for both sides, Kenji Bahar, 179 of 284, 1,809 yards, 33 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. For Tulsa, Sam Castronova. We'll talk about that in a second. I could have put Hassan Rogers here since he was the starter the last time Tulsa played, but we'll just talk about that in a minute. Puka Williams, your leading rusher, 158 carries, 631 yards, 10 touchdowns. And Hassan Rogers being your leading rusher for Tulsa, 129 carries, 442 yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Tio Redding, 39 catches, 554 yards, 12 receiving touchdowns. And Cole Blackman, 35 receptions, 383 yards, and 17 receiving touchdowns. Looking at our injury report for Massachusetts, a couple guys come off, but Marcus Floyd and Terry Beckner Jr. are added to the short-term injured reserve list. And then nothing to report on the Tulsa side of things, as we are just more weeks out from TJ Edwards' injury. Kerry Edwards on short-term injured reserve, and they've got plenty of guys on season injured reserve. Our over-under in our game odds is 78.5, so they're expecting a low-scoring game in this one, and plus 1.5 in favor of, well, not in favor, but plus 1.5 for Tulsa, minus 1.5 in favor of Massachusetts, minus 125. Vegas thinks that Massachusetts is going to take the victory on the road, and plus 105 if you want a home upset in favor of the Oilers. We are at the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with our series head-to-head being 4-1 in favor of Massachusetts. So there is some history here where Vegas does think Massachusetts can continue their winning ways, as these two teams met just a couple weeks ago, with the Pirates prevailing 58-37, which we all kind of know what happened to the end of that game. So yeah, kind of sucks to rehash that stuff, but we got some reinforcements on the Oilers side. Let's go talk about that in our 25-man roster. Then we'll talk bet prediction, and we'll just keep moving along. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face. We start with the away side first for the Pirates. Kenji Bahar and Talia Tagovailoa being your quarterbacks. Bahar most likely being the starter, Tagovailoa being your backup. Running back is Puka Williams, and for your wide receivers for the Pirates, Tio Redding, Dante Demas, Stephen McBride, and Thomas Owens. Offensive line, Jordan McRae, Chris Murray, Brandon Kemp, Navon Donaldson, and Dante Lucas. And on the defensive side of the ball, Dominic Keewan, Jock Bristol, Mike Mason, and DJ Dale. Linebacker is Marcus Waters, which Talk about that in a second. DJ Daniel in the secondary. DJ Daniel, Teldrick Ross, Latavius Brini, Dexter Lawson Jr., Destin Mack, Smoke Monday, and Ty Smith. Now, I put new signees, Latavius Brini and Dexter Lawson Jr. as defensive backs. I can't remember which one of them. They was kind of a hybrid on their roster website, but it's either Brini or Lawson. It might be Lawson, who's kind of that Marquise Waters linebacker, defensive back hybrid. We'll see if they get any sort of linebacker action. Kicker is Josh Gable. Moving over to the biggest thing here, Tulsa, your starting quarterback. Who knows? They have signed former San Antonio gunslinger, AF1 MVP for the Albany Firebirds, Sam Castronova. We'll see how it goes. They've also signed former NAL MVP and champion from the Beaumont Renegades, Carl Robinson III. They still have quarterbacks Hassan Rogers and Kobe Gatson on their roster. I haven't seen anything that says anything other, but I do believe Hassan Rogers will drop in to that running back wide receiver style position as he has been all season long, as Gatson kind of went in a little bit at that quarterback spot to relieve Rogers a little bit before they put Rogers back into the game. So my gut tells me it's Castronova, as he's played in the Indoor Football League. He knows the system, things like that. Kind of see how it goes, but wouldn't shock me if Robinson gets the start as well. Wide receivers Max Novak, Jermaine Smith, Sheldon Augustine, and Cole Blackman. Offensive line Kadri Kunta, Zach Branner, Bryant Nolan Jr., and Anthony Kennedy. Defensively, Ulrich Jones, Jacarius Smith, Trey Smalls, and Rashawn Williams on the line. Linebackers include Dylan Petway, Trey Harvey, and Marquez Bembry. And in the secondary, Taylor Hawkins, Sedarius Doss, Kentrell Pierce, Caleb Lee Collins, and Roderick Jarrett, with your kicker being Ross Moore. That is your 25-man roster for your Massachusetts Pirates, your 25-man roster for your Tulsa Oilers. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction. Got a couple more left to do with the previews. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. Screw it. Plus 105 for Tulsa. I do think Massachusetts might be the better team, and we always wonder how quarterback and wide receiver, running back chemistry, all of that stuff kind of goes, but I think Sam Castronova can slot in pretty well. Like I said, it's not the system that he had in San Antonio, but look at what he has been able to accomplish wherever he has gone. And again, I don't really watch the AF1 or the NAL or whatever, but wherever he has gone from those, I mean, he was the freaking MVP with Albany. He has gone to San Antonio. He was the former Offensive Player of the Year and borderline second place of the MVP last season. The dude is a baller, and he can slot right in, man. I don't really know if there's going to be too much of a drop off. And it's no knock on Hassan Rogers having to come in and pretty much play relief for TJ Edwards like he had to do a couple weeks ago. But bringing in Sam Castronova can boost that, put Rogers back in the position he has played all season, and the offense can kind of get going. We'll see how that goes when it comes to chemistry built with Jermaine Smith, Cole Blackman, Rogers himself, things like that. On the other side, Massachusetts has looked good. I mean, yes, they've kind of fallen off a little bit in the last couple of weeks, but they did get the victory against Iowa last week. They have looked good. They were one of the hottest teams until they've cooled off recently, but another win last week is another win, and it has set them up in a playoff spot as of right now and bumped Tulsa on the outside looking in. So this game is very, very important for either side. I don't expect this game to be too much different than what Vegas is offering. That's the reason why it's only roughly a 2-point swing either way. Massachusetts has looked good. Tulsa has looked good, but Tulsa has looked good with TJ Edwards. This is technically an upset based on the odds and stuff like that, so I'm going to go for that upset. My prediction for this one, 41-40. This is just going to be one of those games, I think, where one team makes a mistake. One more mistake than the other team. The other team's able to capitalize, or it costs them the game. And for me, I think Massachusetts might be a little more prone to that in this one. Now, without TJ Edwards, maybe Tulsa is more like mistake prone, but I'm not sure. It's tough. I know Tulsa has looked all right at home. Let me go back over here really quick and look at the home records. Tulsa's 4-2 at home, and Massachusetts is not that good on the road. They're 3-3. So that's not to say Pirates can't win on the road, but Tulsa having the opportunity to kind of exact revenge. And I'm not saying that they're going to go out and play dirty or anything like that, but kind of avenge their loss of TJ Edwards, get the monkey off their back and put themselves back into a playoff position. There should be some motivation on the Oilers sideline. Now for Massachusetts, they have their own motivation as well. Of course, they are in a playoff spot too, and to further cement themselves in there, knock Tulsa out. They've already beaten Tulsa, so just depending on how the conference win percentage, whether it's head-to-head, they would have 2 wins against Tulsa, so they would have the series advantage. That's how we see it. So for me, I do think Tulsa takes this one, but again, look how close these odds are. Not shocked if Massachusetts travels all the way to Tulsa, knocks them off. Kenji Bahar has been playing really well. I know myself, I know a couple of other guys that, do indoor football content, were a little skeptical of Bahar early on and midway through the season, but he has come on quite a bit. The resurgence of Thomas Owens has been really, really good. And that offense with Puka Williams running the ball looks fantastic. Defensively, there's still a little bit left to be desired, but you make do. On Tulsa, kind of the same thing. The offense has looked really good, but in absence of TJ Edwards, we have our second game to see how that kind of goes. Defensively, Tulsa looks pretty good. There are some holes. Don't get me wrong, they have been boat raced a little bit, but at the same time, you just kind of go from there. This should be a very, very fun game. So 41-40, Oilers take it, plus 105 for the odds. Let's just have a fun weekend. Let's go take a look at another preview. All right, preview number 4, and I think this is our final 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, but let's get it going. 7:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network, or if you want the Victory Plus app, if this game is streaming on it, there might be other ones that might be on there too. Who knows? The Fishers Freight at 4-9, taking on the 1-12 Iowa Barnstormers. Both teams pretty much eliminated from playoff contention, so let's move on. I'm just kidding. No, this should be a fun game. I mean, both teams playing for pride at this point. Iowa trying to finish the season strong. I mean, they can still finish 4-12, and maybe there's an opportunity for them to springboard this into something. For Fishers, another opportunity for them to get ever so close, and they could finish the season 7-9. So we'll see how it goes. Our season leaders for both teams: Felix Harper, your quarterback for Fishers, 5 for 10, 74 yards, 1 touchdown, and no interceptions. Some of that, I think he was 2 for 2 for Massachusetts. So combine that with the lack of passing that he did in their previous game. James Cahoon, 201 of 361, 2,147 yards, 40 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. Rushing leaders: Dominic Roberto, 42 carries, 162 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And James Cahoon, your leading rusher, 25 carries, 65 yards, and 1 touchdown. Receiving leaders: JT Stokes, 33 catches, 379 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And Kean Williams, 75 receptions, 982 yards, and 18 receiving touchdowns. Taking a look at our injury report, the only thing to report for either side: Terrence McLean has been put on season injured reserve. Other than that, there's not really much on either side. Taking a look at our game odds, we have an over-under of 90.5. Vegas is expecting points, and minus 4.5 in favor of Fishers on the road, plus 4.5 Iowa as a home underdog, minus 198 if you want straight money line for the Freight, or plus 164 if you want the Barnstormers to pull a home upset. We are in, and I forgot to change this, it's no longer Wells Fargo Arena, it is Casey's Arena. Go get their pizza, it is delicious. If you live in the Midwest, oh my god, it's so good. Anyway, we're in Casey's Arena in Des Moines, Iowa. In our series head-to-head, the Iowa Barnstormers actually lead it. It's been their only win of the season all the way back in Week 6 with a 68-37 victory, where you thought this is the one game Iowa's going to do that they do every year, and lo and behold, it's kind of stuck. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man roster, our bet and prediction. Go get some Casey's Pizza, and we'll move on. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face, starting with the away side first for Fishers. We have Felix Harper as your quarterback, the only quarterback on the roster. Running backs include Dominic Roberto and Josiah King. Wide receivers, we'll talk about this in a second. Wide receivers include JT Stokes, Isaiah Cox, Journey Sloan, Julian Walker, and former Massachusetts Pirate Isaiah Coulter as a new signee. I did look at Fishers' website. They still have Jaron McGaugh and John Gay on their roster, but I don't see any designation for them on the transactions page or anything like that, so I'm not sure if they're part of it. I left them off here. If they are part of the team, we'll see, but I didn't see anything, on the contrary. Offensive line, AJ Forbes, LaQuinston Sharp, Daryl Simmons, Jatarius Spivey, Jeremy Cooper, and Darius Long. Darius Long might be one of those guys that transitions over to the defensive line, as we see Christopher Oakley, Jalen Swan, and Akeem Smith as your only defensive linemen. Linebackers include Cam Hunt and Tamar Hart. And in the secondary, Sean Steele, Aaron Jackson, Jaden Rowe, Justin Terry, Justice King, and Callum Sutherland. To the Iowa side of things, Grant Rohach, James Cahoon, and Dylan Van Boxel are your quarterbacks. Van Boxel has been around the Indoor Football League a few times. He's been around the indoor and arena scene for quite a while. Cahoon, most likely your starter. We'll see if that means that Rohach is hurt, or even if Cahoon is hurt, and the reason why they brought in Van Boxel. Not sure. Wide receivers include Kean Williams, Jalen Bracey, Caleb Hood, DeMonte Martin, and Raheem Harvey. Offensive line, Devin Hayes, Tyler Castaneda, Paul Fay, and Jordan Taylor. To the defensive side of the ball, Patrick Godbolt, Joshua Ellison, Tyler Tate, and Jared Johnson. Linebackers include Kadri Jackson, Ja'Cory Johns, and former Green Bay Blizzard, Jalen Johnson. To the secondary, Ja'Cory Benjamin, Angelo Gross, Caleb Street, Jared Sod, and Cam Mitchell Johnson, with your kicker being Gabriel Rui. And that is your 25-man roster for your Fishers Freight, 25-man roster for your Iowa Barnstormers. Let's go take a look at our bet and our prediction as we just chug along with our previews. All right, bet and prediction time. Minus 198, favor of Fishers. I have no idea how this game is going to go. There is a small part of me, small part. I can't quit Iowa. This could be a game where Iowa gets their victory, and it could be recency bias because, well, not recency bias, but the most recent result, the only result between these two teams where Iowa got the victory. So yes, there's a part of me that wants to bet Iowa, but I just can't. I can't. They've burned me so many times. So this is just a pure spite pick. I'm not even picking a spread. I'm picking the worst odds on the board out of this one, minus 198. I think with what Dixie Wooten has with Felix Harper, Josiah King just running like crazy, bringing in Isaiah Coulter, that wide receiving group with JT Stokes, like I said, a lot of Dixie Wooten influence when it comes to that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not going to get into any of the turmoil when it comes to like Vincent Espinoza and all that. I don't care. But like, again, I think Wooten has his guys in place. I think what he has to kind of finish the season, hopefully finish the season strong, to springboard them into the next year, could be something good. On the other side for Iowa, it's more or less the same. I mean, it's kind of just throw the ball up to Kean Williams. If he's covered, you got to throw it to Jalen Bracey or Caleb Hood, things along those lines. Raheem Harvey had a really good game, all things considered. It's just that defense is giving up points, man. That defense needs to be solidified, and they're just not doing it. And I think Fishers can take advantage of it. At some points I have asked, and even like as far back as a couple of seasons, I have always asked, what is Iowa's identity? This season I've asked, what is Fishers' identity? And I feel more confident in their offensive identities than I do their defensive identities. I do think that Fishers is turning more and more into Bay Area light, running the ball, and then popping it over the top like they used to do. For Iowa, it's just air raid. More of the same, just air raid. Nice to see them run the ball in goal-to-go situations, but it has just been air raid. It's like a Mike Leach, Texas Tech offense almost. But anyway, that's where we kind of have it. Defensively, I think these teams can score points on each other. I dare say that, Fisher's defense might be a little bit better, but man, over 90, do you want some fireworks in a game that doesn't necessarily matter? When I mean that, I mean towards the playoff race. So both these teams are pretty good in their right minds. In the grand scheme of things, they are not. But playing against each other, we'll see. It's just kind of one of those things where it's just like, yeah, I got to watch it, but there's plenty of other appetizing games on the slate. So with that, let's go take a look. I'm sorry, I forgot my prediction on this one. I do apologize. My prediction for this one, 42-38 in favor of Fishers, but kind of got that vibe when it was Fishers' money line. So with that, I know it's just not even throwing the prediction out there because I'm just a spiteful man, but minus 198 in favor of the Freight, 42-38 in favor of Fishers. I guess they're both favor of Fishers. I'm losing my mind already. We still have 2 more previews to go. Anyway, I think Fishers can close this out. Am I shocked if Iowa wins it? No. This could just be another one of those things where it's like, oh, Iowa wins. moving on. Anyway, so speaking of moving on, let's go move on with our fifth preview. All right, preview number 5. We're moving to the later slate of games. To the Western Conference we go. We have an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network or any other streaming platform you choose because, well, you can just go find them for free, apparently. San Diego at 9-4 taking on Arizona at 8-5, and again on the Western Conference side of things, this is a huge matchup when it comes to playoff positioning. San Diego at the number 2 spot. They need this victory to keep pace with Bay Area. Arizona looking to further their playoff spot with Vegas losing. Spoiler alert if you haven't watched the game on Friday, but Vegas lost. Arizona's jumped into the 3 seed based on that, and with a victory, they can kind of secure themselves to the 3 or possibly move up to the number 2, depending on conference win percentage or head-to-head or whatever. Season leaders for both sides, Nate Davis, 183 of 283, 1,983 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Dalton Snead, 193 of 333, 2,091 yards, 35 touchdowns to 10 picks. Edward Vander, 100 carries, 353 rushing yards, and 16 touchdowns. And Ron Brown Jr., 96 carries, 484 yards, and 20 rushing touchdowns. Receiving leaders for both sides, Dallas Daniels, 38 receptions, 407 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And Isaiah Houston, 57 carries, 720 yards, and 11 receiving touchdowns. Going over to the injury report here, nothing really to report for San Diego. And for Arizona, 2 guys have come off, and Jordan Parker and Jalen Bass have been included. So a couple of guys added for the Rattlers. Looking over at our game odds here, we have an over-under of 88.5, so points. And then minus 5.5 for Arizona at home, and a minus 192 money line, but plus 160 if you want an away upset for the Strike Force, or plus 5.5 if you think they can cover the spread in the desert. Speaking of that, we are in Desert Diamond Arena in Glendale, Arizona, and our series head-to-head kind of heavily favors the Rattlers 5-1, but this is their first meeting of the season. It has taken us till week 17 to see a rematch of the Western Conference Championship from last season, with Arizona getting the victory. It kind of crushed them a little bit, 58-23. So these guys renew it again, and again, a lot of heavy implications when it comes to the playoffs. We'll talk about that in our bet and prediction, but we got to go take a look at our 25-man roster first. Then we'll go talk about that bet and prediction when we move on. All right, 25-man rosters popping up over my face, starting with the away side. First, for San Diego, more of the same. Nate Davis, your starting quarterback. Rudy Johnson, your backup, and kind of Swiss Army knife. We'll see how it goes with him. Your running back, Edward Vander. And the wide receivers include Dallas Daniels, Jalen Sample, John Maldonado, Javian Lofton-Wilson, and Shane Hooks. Offensive line, Christian Olmstead, Jalen Booth, Josh Castro, and Jake Sines. On the defensive side of the ball, Wallace Cowens, Guy Thomas, Afanye Maye, Karat Garland, and Jackson Cravens. Linebacker being Royce C. And into the secondary, Cyrus Fagan, Devin Hafford, Tyreek Lewis, Draco Statham, Atoa Fox, and Elijah Reed, with Ernesto Lacayo being your kicker. Over to the Arizona side, Drew Powell and Dalton Snead as your quarterbacks, Snead being your starter, Powell being your backup, Ron Brown is your only running back, and in the wide receiving category, Jamal Miles, Johannes Tyler, Isaiah Houston, Corey Reed Jr., Trey Dixon, and Austin Johnson. A lot of wide receivers for both sides. Offensive line, Bryson Mays, Christopher Strotter, and Lamar Mady. On the defensive side, Kevin Sims, Rashawn Yates, Isaiah Coe, James Nimwaya. Linebackers, Mikal Calhoun off of short-term injured reserve, along with, I think, Corey Reed. I mentioned him earlier. Jalen Campbell is your other linebacker, and in the secondary, Jermaine Dobbs, Devontae Merriweather, Isaiah Huff, Otjo So, Amari Alexander, and Ethan Castleberry, with Dawson Evans being your kicker. And that is your 25-man roster for San Diego, your 25-man roster for Arizona. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction and talk about this game just a little bit more. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. Minus 192 for Arizona. And San Diego played really, really well last week. They did. They looked really, really good. They fought off a comeback from Bay Area. They have put themselves in position with the number 2 seed. I just cannot count out Kevin Guy and the Arizona Rattlers. It's just the same devil magic that happens every year, whether it's the injuries the last couple of seasons that have started them out kind of poorly, whether it's kind of been like the midseason kind of lull for them this year, it seems, but there's just something about it where Arizona always drops some of these games that they probably shouldn't drop, or win some games they probably shouldn't win, and now we're here. Now they're back in a playoff spot, and it's not like they were out of it, but they're in a playoff spot. They can solidify themselves, and once we get towards playoff times, you cannot count them out. So minus 192 for the money line. San Diego needs to play really well in this one. I think so. If they can replicate what they did without having the Bay Area come back from last week, San Diego could be poised for a nice little upset in this. That's not to say that San Diego sucks. That's not to say that Arizona is better. I just think Arizona at home has an opportunity to solidify themselves deeper into their playoff positioning, jump San Diego. I don't know what their conference win percentage is off the top of my head, but both teams would go to 9-5. Having the series head-to-head right now, they do play the final week of the season, but with the 1-0 series advantage right now for Arizona, if that's what they're going with tiebreakers, that would jump them into the 2 seed. On the other hand, if San Diego gets this, it's 10-4 for San Diego, and it drops Arizona back down to the 4 seed, as I think Vegas jumps them back to the 3. So again, a lot of jockeying when it comes to these seedings from 2 all the way down to 4, depending on how this game goes. I think Arizona's offense, it's been kind of a roller coaster. The defense has been kind of the same thing too. San Diego has come on a little bit as of late. That defense has looked good, bringing in Guy Thomas, bringing in the players that they have in the secondary, pretty much the old Pirates secondary that Arizona knows pretty well from, games past and championships past. But this should be a fun one. I do think Arizona can score. I do think San Diego can score. But is it going to be enough? Can you get after Nate Davis, force him out of the pocket? Can you stop the running attack that is Ron Brown and Dalton Snead? We'll just kind of see how these matchups play out. Like I said, I do think minus 192. I think Arizona is just a little bit better. My prediction, 46-40 in favor of the Rattlers. I'm just not confident on an over-under. I can see where both defenses step up. I could also see where it's a close game. I could also see where one team does kind of win more convincingly than the other. So I'm just going to throw all of that away and just say, I think this team wins. So am I shocked if San Diego pulls the upset? I'll be honest, a little bit, but not much. San Diego played really, really well. They have been playing really, really well. If you thought last year was a fluke, which I did, admittedly, I did. And look at me eating crow now. So kudos to San Diego to get to where they're at. They're not done yet. Arizona, though, it's just one of those things I mentioned earlier where it might be just a little game of possum where it's just like, okay, they might not have the best record. They might not be destroying teams, but they're playing tough, and this game could be more of the same. So minus 192 for the Rattlers, 46-40 in favor of them. We'll move on. But yeah, let's go take a look at our final preview and get on out of here. All right, final preview of the evening. We have yet another 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff between two Western Conference foes. Another in-state Arizona battle as the 6-7 Tucson Sugar Skulls taking on the 1-12 Northern Arizona Wranglers. I forgot, this game is on the Indoor Football League Network or whatever streaming platform you want because it just doesn't matter anymore. Here's your $30. Thank you for your money. That'll be the last pot shot I take, but I wanted to do it this week. Just drive it home a little bit deeper. Thanks, guys. Anyway, I'll leave it at that after this week. But anyway, Tucson trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. Northern Arizona trying to end the season on a high note. Maybe get a little bit of a win streak going into 2026. Taking a look at our season leaders. Jorge Reyna, 143 of 231, 1,529 yards, 29 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Ramon Atkins, 122 of 204, 1,182 yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Reyna, your leading rusher, 85 carries, 364 yards, and 6 touchdowns, with Atkins being your leading rusher for Northern Arizona, 42 catches, 209 yards, and 10 rushing touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Larry Harrington, 47 catches, 480 yards, and 17 touchdowns. And Deshaun Stoudemire, 58 receptions, 688 yards, and 8 receiving touchdowns. Nothing to report on the injury report when it comes to that. Nothing really new for either side. Taking a look at our game odds, we have an over-under of 84.5 and a minus 7.5 for Tucson on the road, plus 7.5 for the Wranglers at home. Plus 250 if you want the home underdog upset. minus 310 if you want the home or the away favorite. You'll have to bet a little bit more money if you want a huge profit. We're at the Findlay Toyota Center in Prescott Valley, northern Arizona. Well, it is technically northern Arizona, but Prescott Valley, Arizona. And our series head-to-head does favor the Wranglers 8-6, but Tucson inching ever so close, 59-38, with their victory coming all the way back in Week 14, so just a little less than a month ago. With that, let's go take a look at our 25-man roster. I'm losing my brain. Let's take a look at our 25-man roster, our bet and prediction. We'll get out of here. All right, let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first. For the Sugar Skulls, Jorge Reyna and Larry Harrington being your quarterbacks. Reyna most likely your starter. Harrington will be your wide receiver, jack-of-all-trades type. Devontae Sapp Lynch and Jameis Williams being your running back. And while I was very keen on Williams, I think he has kind of made a name for himself. He has played defensive back, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Devontae Sapp Lynch has actually kind of had a little bit of a resurgence, so really happy to see that, but I know I was kind of in favor of Williams being the starting back, but both guys have played pretty well, all things considered. Wide receivers, Jerome Buckner, Spencer Tiers, Drew Dixon, Alfonso Taylor, and Braden Oakley. Offensive line, Cody Bolig, Isaiah Foote, Q Baker, and Tariq Stewart. To the defensive side, Rudy Ngoni, Rick DeBreu, Trey Henry, Deshaun Mallory, and Jaimin Brooks. Linebacker, Ternelius Tatum. And in the secondary, Tariq Bracy, Brian Murray, Ahmad Lyons, Kendricks Gladney Jr., and Ramon Morris. So former Tulsa Oiler Ramon Morris is added to that secondary, so maybe Williams will more than likely drop back into a running back position. Kicker is Kevin Macias. And to the northern Arizona side, Caleb Lowe and Ramon Atkins for your quarterbacks. I think Atkins is going to start. I know Lowe started a game, but I don't know if Atkins was hurt. Maybe that week off can help him. We're not sure. Running backs, Nolan Susel and Daniel Ngata. Wide receivers, Deshaun Stoudemire, Arlen Bruce, Marlon Cook, Kobe Smith, and David Elder. Offensive line includes Junior Atuatasi, Chris Simon, DJ Stuckey, and Ryan Atkins. On the line, Darius Johnson, Karan Bolden, Devin Thomas, and Mason Newton for the defense. Linebackers, Travaris Farrell and Kalen Hicks. And in the secondary, Bakembe Carney, Malik Saunier, Devaya Gabor, Simeon Burns, and Jaden Wickware, with your kicker being Michael Hall. There's your 25-man roster for your Tucson Sugar Skulls, 25-man roster for your Northern Arizona Wranglers. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, wrap everything up. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. Minus 7.5 for Tucson. Now hear me out. Tucson is playing for their playoff lives. I'm not sure if they're eliminated if they lose, but they're like right on death's door. If they lose this game, we know Vegas lost again, spoiler alert, but Vegas lost has dropped them to 8-6. Tucson can get in at 9-7 if Vegas keeps losing and goes to 8-8. So they don't have to rely on like conference win percentage or anything along those lines. So to keep winning is very, very important, but you have to win your final 3 games to do that, to cleanly get in and not have to rely on conference win percentage or head-to-head or anything along those lines. So Tucson absolutely needs this one. What better way for your other in-state rival to ruin that than for Northern Arizona to get the victory? So this should be fun. I know I said it. I know I said it in previews and recaps that I said Northern Arizona is playing well. The wins are coming. They haven't. They haven't yet. Maybe they will. Maybe this is the one that it does. But until then, I might have to eat my words on that one. But they have played well. They have played close. There have been some games where they have looked good, but as people say, they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory time and time again. Could this be a situation where they do that? I'm not sure. They have looked good, especially since they brought in Ramon Atkins, especially since that offense has looked more, stable. They have lost some guys, releases and stuff like that. But all things considered, they have played well. I know their record doesn't necessarily reflect that, but again, what can you do? Same thing can be said kind of for Iowa, some of these teams that are, on the lower side of things. Tucson, though, they have looked good. They have knocked off Arizona twice. They have beaten some teams that they probably shouldn't have, but they have lost teams they probably shouldn't have as well, too. So with that, I think Tucson, their offense, their defense, especially with what they have done with their recent signings on the defensive line and the secondary. I think that defense could be a little bit more beefed up. What they've brought in the wide receiving spot, if Harrington can continue what he's doing, I think Tucson could be in for a good shot here to take this victory and take it minus 7.5. My prediction, 45-35 in favor of the Sugar Skulls. For Northern Arizona to win this game, they don't have to play perfect, but they have to force turnovers. They have to force stops on fourth down. They have to stop Kevin Macias from kicking deuces or field goals, because he is very, very good at both. And more importantly, they need to find the end zone quite a bit. And I'm not sure if Northern Arizona can do that. If they do, then they'll play a very, very good game. But I just don't see it. That's why I've got minus 7.5. That's why I've got 45-35. I think Tucson just is better. I just do not see a scenario where Northern Arizona, they can play close, but I don't know. You just worry about those mistakes that they've made time and time again. So that's where I have it with this. I think Tucson is just kind of better off. Minus 7.5, 45-33. With that, let's wrap everything up and get out of here. And that is it for our Week 17 Saturday preview. That is the entire slate for Week 17. 6 games, all starting within an hour of each other. A lot of games kicking off early at 7, 2 games kicking off at 8. It is going to be fun. You will have to be channel flipping or, switching between tabs or looking at multiple screens or anything to try and get there. I'm sure a lot of these broadcasts will have live look-ins or, score updates and stuff like that through the broadcasts. So they'll always be on the lookout for what's going on playoff position-wise and things along those lines. But we should be in for a doozy, and then we'll obviously be back here to recap it all, talk about it, get a clearer playoff picture as we go to 2 weeks left in the regular season, but we just kind of go from there. So with that, I'm going to take off here, guys. I love and appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already, I'll shamelessly plug it. I made a rant about how this season has kind of gone from the inside and outside of things for the Indoor Football League. You just kind of go from there. If you want to check it out, cool. If you want to like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. If you don't, neat. But I'm going to take off here, guys. I got a Royals game to go watch with some buddies. They suck, but hey, with some cool beer and some seats and some nice, hot Missouri weather. And until then, I'll catch you guys in the recaps. I'll catch you guys in the further weeks. Until then, see ya.